Hey there. So by now, I hope that you all were able to create the shear versions of your models um, after extruding and scaling and making sure that everything is now a 40 foot by 40 foot cube at 40 feet high. So we know that you rotated it 4 times, and then to those rotations, you rotated them another 45 degrees. And that's when we sheared it 45 degrees, and that's how we got to this point. All right, so now the next step is to document everything. So first thing I would like you all to do is file save as and just make this another file. Just because you don't want to lose everything. So it's always good to have multiple versions. So this is going to be V2 for me. And now I'm going to download the new template. So go back into your folder from the OneDrive. If you can't find it, go to My Files, look for the folder that says our course number, and then just go down to the new folder called templates. And please download one of these files. All right. So once it's downloaded, just open it on up and you will see this layout. All right. So this is the layout that's from the assignment prompt all the way in the back. The goal is to just make it right now. This way, later on, when you're getting ready for presentation, you don't have to redo a bunch of work. All right, so this same layout is going to be used for 1, 2, 3, and 4 because we're doing a total of 4 iterations. All right, so let me just annotate that. 1 is this week. So that is October 1st, I believe, right? If today, yeah. So this is for Tuesday. All right, and so I just need this full layout finished. Okay, everything else comes later, but this is going to be 2, 3, and 4. All right, so those are the later iterations of your Q model after you make a few changes with your full model in class. All right, so let's clear these annotations, clear all drawings, and we can get back to the layout. All right, so what I need you all to do is take your model and copy it. All right, you don't need any of these lines, so you can select closed curve, deselect everything else in your model, only focus on the curves here, and press delete. Okay? Then I need you to Boolean union this. All right, once you Boolean union it, you'll see a lot fewer curves, and that is the goal. All right, so once we have this, what we're going to do is export our views. So this is what we did in the previous model. We're going to do view capture to file. First, zoom, type in selected, and be sure to deselect. We shouldn't see any yellow lines or the gumball tool. And then we simply write view capture to file. All right, make sure that you have a clear background. And the size, I can actually reduce the height of this a bit. It's 839 right now for me. I'm going to just make it maybe 400 pixels high. All right, and then it should adjust everything else. The width, yep, the width should be adjusted. Let's see if that's 400. I'll make this 800 just because we'll see how that comes out. If it's not good, we'll just do it again. So I'm just going to make this axo view 1A for the demonstration. All right, and let's give that a look and see how it comes out. So in the InDesign layout, I just need you to open it up, make sure that you're on page 1. You can change the parent templates to your name. All right. And it's also a good idea to just save it as a new folder from the template. So file save as, new file, template, CH. Okay. So again, we're back on page 1. You see that it says grid iteration 01. This was our first grid design. And I'm going to drop in my first view. All right, so it seems a little small, so what I'm going to do is increase it. Obviously, it did not change the width. So if I want this to be a little bit closer, all I need to do is just re-export it. So let me do that again. View, capture to file, and I want my width to be, I need this aspect ratio to change. So the width can be 800 and the height, I think I wanted 400 originally. And now I'll just lock it and browse A. And I do want to replace it. So now I'm going to try that again. I can do file place or use the control D as you see here. So file place, XO view 1A, and there we go. It makes a lot more sense now. It's a lot more manageable. All right, I could still make it a smaller view aspect ratio, but this will do the trick for right now. All right, I want to try and get the top of my model to touch the top line of the frame. And it's very important that you are not adjusting the frame. If you're adjusting the frame, then it's not going to be a successful file. Okay, you have to make sure that you double click into the frame so that you work with moving the image and not the frame. You see how this box is still here? That's because I'm moving the image and not the frame. Please be sure to follow that step. All right, so now that I know that this works, I might want to change my view aspect ratio to something a little bit narrower, and that's fine. We can totally do that. Just, you know, change that in your settings. So zoom selected again. Make sure you deselect, view capture to file, and I'm going to change my width to 500. Browse, and this is going to be O2A. So this is a new demonstration. All right, and I'm just going to import it again. All right, again, I need to stretch it a little bit. All right, and that looks pretty close. So I'll accept that. And moving on, zoom selected, view capture to file. And I think I want to try and reduce this to get a little bit closer. So let's see if I make it 350. Three A. All right, and while I'm here, I'm just gonna get the last one. See, I just accidentally deleted my file. Control Z will undo that in a heartbeat. All right, so zoom selected, deselect, view capture to file, browse, and this is going to be 4A. All right, so now back in the InDesign file, I'm just going to import those last two. It's a bit more manageable. The only thing is that I don't have the front corner, so I actually need to scale it a little bit more. So if I wanted to check and see if it was a good match for the height, I just overlay it here and it looks good to me, so I could bring it back. Now you see that I have the frames on the template. So all you need to do is just drag it, grab the frame onto those dots, and you'll know that you're still in alignment. All right, I'm going to do that again with this one. Scale it a little bit more. And then just make sure that it looks close enough to being perfectly aligned, which it does. And aligning it. Okay. So now we could get into importing the drawings. I already have most of the page done. All right, so now I want to go back to our original drawings that were in the tiny scale of the real world, so our 5-inch scales. And I'm going to copy the lines and the grid with the shapes. All right. I also need to copy the original grid, which I did not select. Mirror lines, so just make sure that you select your mirror lines. All right. So I want all of these objects to be black and white. So I'm going to change them to the default layer. Okay. And what you'll see is that we cannot actually see poly surfaces or, any type of planes in our PDF view. So what we're going to do instead is delete all the poly surfaces. And then we're going to take these lines and make hatches out of them. So do yourself, yeah, just create a hatch layer. I already made one. You click this little pie with the plus and you type in the layer name. And once you have it called hatched, make sure that you're on that layer. Make sure it's blue or bold with a check. Then type hatch. Then I'm going to select the curves that I want to apply to the hatch. I don't want the boundary box. I only want the inside curve. So make sure that you deselect the correct curve. And now I'm going to press enter. And we're just working with solid hatches for this. And a hatch is basically coloring in like a coloring book, and it's very common in a lot of other, architectural software. It's a common term. You'll notice a hatch in AutoCAD, Revit, SketchUp, all those fun programs. All right, and so I'm going to take these hatches and I'm going to copy them and paste them over here. Okay, I actually don't need the hatches in this top view, so I'm just going to delete them. But yeah, the goal would be to see the grid with the hatch and then just the shape without the grid. Okay. I want to keep the boundary just because I feel like it's clearer, but what we can do is change the boundary to a, a lighter line. So what I'm going to do is change it to a hidden line. Change object layer. This way it's just dashed. All right. Next thing I need to do is change the layer for my original grid. And that's just so that it prints in black and white. So I'm going to right click, change object layer, and now it's nice and black and white. For the grid, I really would like for you to use your dimensions so we can figure out, what pattern you did. So type in DIM and just one by one, add your dimension line. So it looks like I have grid snap on, so make sure that you don't have grid snap on. And then go about labeling your drawings. All right. Sometimes it does this funky thing where it drags your text all over the place. I don't like when that happens, so I just grab the little control point and I drag it back into the main area. All right. So just continuing onward. Um, you can either continue or since it's a perfect pattern, you can select your dimension lines, type in mirror, choose your mirror line, and then it'll copy it to the other side. All right, I'm going to do that again. And this time I'm just going to do the full 5 inches. And down here, I'm going to break it up. All right, you see it's too close to the bottom line. So what I'm going to do is grab my points and move that down. Let's see, maybe a 1/2 inch. I did a 1/4 inch. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to move it to align with that point. All right, and that I'll continue for the rest of my dimensions. So I'm just typing in dim, pick the point to keep it aligned. Okay. And if I want to show that my mirror line is 2.5 inches, I could just put that right there. So we know that 1/2 of 5 is 2.5 inches. Okay. If your dimensions are not, a good height or a good color or a good size, all you need to do is click on the dimension, go to your color wheel for your settings, and make sure that you're clicked on this dimension icon, and then click Edit Style. So from Edit Style, you can change it. So right now my font is Arial, the height is a 1/4 inch, 0.25. Text gap is 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. Yeah, if you want to pause on the screen to match the settings, please do. But I'm just trying to keep everything as small as possible, but still legible. So arrows, if you don't see all these, they're usually just folded down, so hit the little arrow. Make sure you're working in feet and inches. It should not be reading like a decimal. All right. For my stack height, I'm actually going to change this to a 50%, just because it'll make it a little bit more petite. All right. And so I press OK. So now everything fits nice and orderly. Okay. So once I have my dimension lines, I'm going to select the object. And just like in the previous project, we're going to go to File, Export Selected. All right, as you know, this template is not a full 5 inches. Each of these boxes is 2.5 inches, which is a 1/2 inch. I'm sorry, that's a 1/2 scale. So that's 50% of our 5 inch shape. So we know that our scale should be a 1/2 inch scale. All right, so I'm going to call this file CM original grid 1/2 scale dim because it has dimensions, and I'm going to press save. And I'm using a letter size piece of paper. It's in portrait mode. Vector output, print color. I have extents, so it's just the object that I'm working in. The scale is 50%. And the way that we do this is 6 inches equals 1 foot 0 inches, because if we know that the paper that we cut in class was 5 inches, this is 1/2 of the 5 inches for our print paper. So 6 inches equals 1 foot. That's just the reality scale. All right. So it does a little math right here. 1 to 2 for 1/2. I have it centered on the page. And that's pretty much all you need to worry about. Then you just press print to export it. And in your layout, sorry, this is the layout, you'll be able to file place that grid. Where did I save it? This one. All right, so we see our full grid, but what we don't see are our dimension lines. So what we're going to do is modify we're just going to modify the frame here, just so we can see the extents of our dimensions. And that is totally okay. All right, it's a little close to the boundary, but we have 5 shapes to fit, so this is acceptable. All right, so now we're going to work on exporting the remaining line drawings. All right. Oh, moving on. One by one, I'm going to export these with that half-inch scale. So zoom selected just to keep it, just so I know what I'm working. Oh, yep, just to know what I'm working in. And so this is going to be grid shape 01. You see it's the same footprint as before. Going to press enter or right click to repeat the previous command. Same settings. All right, again, the same settings as before. Press print. Selection window, right click, or you can press enter on your keyboard. This is shape number 4. All right, and now for our 5th shape. 5. All right, now we're going to do these. And we're going to call it hatch. Now I'm just calling it hatch. You can call it shaded, you can call it color, you can call it whatever you want. As long as you know where to find it on your folder. And I'm just calling mine hatch, repeating the same commands. All right, and you're basically going to do the same thing for each iteration later on. So I probably won't repeat this video, like I probably won't give you other videos. You'll just have to follow this one if you need to in the future. But yeah, so now you see we have these models here in Rhino, but we're going to import them here. So one by one, we're going to press Control D or File Place. And we're going to pull the grid shape one at a time. In the template here, it looks like they have the grid first and then the line drawing. So I'm actually going to go in that direction. So I'll do the hatch first, and then I will pull the line drawing. If you grab the wrong one, it's just like any other program. You can Control Z to undo. Much better if you keep everything in the same place, all your reference files. Oh, wrong one. Control Z, Control P. All right, now we're going to check and see if everything lines up appropriately. I have a feeling it doesn't, but we can do Control Shift. We could just do Shift W to check it out. All right, it actually looks pretty clean to me. So yeah, this would work really well. As you can see, there's equal spacing between all the boxes. Our shapes fit pretty well underneath underneath the drawings above. And I would say that this is a completed file. All right. So once we're happy with our file, all we need to do is File, Export, and you're going to export it as a PDF. Just be sure to call it iteration 01. And since we're only working on one page of this template, just make it range 1, export, and you are good to go. File save. A good idea would be to package all your work so that if you opened this file on another computer, you'll have all the images saved. So please do File and then Package. So I'm going to save it in my project 2 tutorials, but you'll save it wherever, is convenient for you. If you want to keep it on your desktop, that's fine. And I'm just going to call this the cube iteration 01. All right, so press OK, let it do its magic. And then I'm going to project 2 tutorials. And you see a whole folder was created for this. So once you click inside the folder, you'll see it has the 2 primary InDesign versions. It has your PDF, and it also has your links. So every single image that you uploaded in this file and every single document is here. So that's going to be really, really helpful in the future when you're doing your portfolio, when you're just looking for files, because things happen. Anytime you move a file, the link will break, and then you'll have to reload it. So this is a fail-safe way to get it done. Once you're done here, what I need you to do is go to your student folder and your student uploads. So in your file, let's just pretend that I have a folder here. All right, so I'm going to add new folder, project 02. And in here, I'm either going to add new file upload, and I can go to my project 2 folder, and I can grab my PDF that way. Or what I can do is drag and drop. If I'm worried about losing a file, all I need to do is go back to project 2, upload that packaged folder that I made so that I always have a backup. All right, very, very important. So I'm just going to end this now, and I hope that was helpful.